Okay, good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I would like to confess I am a Candy Crush addict. However, although I am on level 998, I have not played Candy Crush for 2 months, and it was only because I was on a plane trip to see Morris Day and I was bored. So please pray for me. Okay, I'm going to read because I just wanted to make sure that I included everything in my speech. My sisters told me I had always been a teacher. They would tell me how I would make them play school each summer, winter, and spring break, regardless if they wanted to or not. However, I never saw myself as a teacher. I did not decide to become a teacher until after I had a conversation with the best teacher in the world, Miss Carol Campbell. I absolutely, positively loved Carol Campbell. She always expected the best from all of her students. She was the first and only student to give me an F, and the first and only she was the first and only teacher to give me an F, and the first and only teacher to give me a SWAT. Right. My first and only SWAT was because I did not complete my homework after the first day of school. Ms. Campbell gave homework the first day of school. So the second day of school, none of the fifth graders, except for one fifth grade student, had completed their homework. All of the sixth graders who had Ms. Campbell the previous year, they completed their homework. So the fifth graders who did not complete their homework were all taken outside of the classroom, and we were all lined up, and she gave us one swift SWAT as the one fifth grader and all the other sixth graders quietly sat in their seats waiting for us to return. I got my first F because I was not good at math. I didn't like math. First through fourth grade math was easier, it was better. Fifth grade math was hard. I shut down. But I never thought I was going to get an F because I had never received an F before. I had never even received a D or a C, so why on earth would I get an F? But Ms. Campbell gave me an F. She knew I was better, and she forced me to work hard and to live up to my potential and to her expectations. I called Ms. Campbell one day to complain about my son's teacher. See, I kept in touch with Ms. Campbell because Ms. Campbell meant the world to me. I told her that my son's teacher would yell into her students' ears. She would get close to their ears and yell, "Do not talk out, do you understand?" This is what the teacher did to the students, and I was frustrated by it, so I called Ms. Campbell to talk to her about it. So after ranting and raving, Ms. Campbell listened quietly to me, and she said, "Well, Katrina, why don't you go back to school and become a teacher?" And I said to her, "A teacher? I don't want to be anybody's teacher." She said to me, "Well, if you are not going to be a part of the solution, stop complaining about the problem." Right, still a teacher after all those years. So at the age of 28, with 3 children and a husband, started my journey back by going back to school and becoming a teacher, solely because my teacher believed in me. When it was time to complete my student teaching, of course, I called Ms. Campbell, who was then the principal of Paul Lawrence Dunbar Elementary School. She put me with the best teacher in her building, and together we had a spectacular time. Of course, when it was time to be hired, she assured that I was hired, and she also wanted me in her building, but unfortunately, we lost a number of children, so I wasn't able to work under her. But my teacher still was looking out for me. During my years as a teacher, my desire was to be the best teacher I could be, to be as much like Ms. Campbell as I could be, to help my students understand that they could be anything they wanted to be and that they could achieve any goal they wanted to achieve, and that it was up to them to do that, but I would be there to help them along the way. I want you all to please understand what the belief in me from my former teacher did for me. I grew up in the heart of Cleveland. First of all, understand that I was 28 years old with 3 children and a husband, and I was working at Taco Bell. I was still living in the same neighborhood I grew up, right around the corner from my mother and father. I grew up in the heart of Cleveland, 59th Street, off of White Avenue and 55th Street on the east side of Cleveland. I went to John D. Rockefeller Elementary School. I was the 6th child of Marvin and Velma, of their 7 children. My mom completed high school and was a valedictorian of her class, but did not have college as an option. I don't even know if she thought about college, but she was the valedictorian of her class. My mom held a variety of jobs, but died of an aneurysm while she was cleaning someone's house. That was her career. My father had a 6th grade education and was able to work as a foreman for the City of Cleveland Water Department, because back then you really didn't need to have an education to get a good job. Honestly, I had no thoughts of being anything other than a mom. I can't remember if my parents had any thoughts of me being anything career-wise. They didn't have any experience of college. No one in either of their families had ever gone to college, so they really hadn't thought about college themselves. But when I called her and told her about my situation, she said, "You need to go back to school." As far as my parents not having a thought about a career for me, I can only think about the scripture that says the people perish for a lack of vision. And I know my parents wanted more for me, but I don't think they had the vision. They didn't have the past. They didn't have the history to help us along. But my teacher, Carol Campbell, knew better, and even after being out of high school for 10 years and out of her classroom for 16 years, she still believed in me. She still believed in me. Her belief in me not only helped me to accomplish my goal, but please understand, she gave me a goal to accomplish that I didn't even realize I had. It was because of my teacher. As a principal, I try to instill the belief in my students that they can attend and complete college. Each year at Gearity, we hold college graduation ceremonies where we create invitations for them, we create diplomas for them, we put them in caps and gowns, we march them across the stage because I want them to understand that they have a future, and I'm trying to give them a vision. In closing, I would like to say that I am a living example of the power of a teacher. I'm a living example of what the belief a teacher has in a student can do for that student. I always try to tell my teachers to treat all of your students respectfully, talk to all of them kindly, care about all of your kids, because you don't know where a student is going to end up. I always try to let them have this scenario in their minds. You're in a dark garage. No one else but you. Suddenly, here comes little Johnny with bad intentions. And little Johnny looks you in the face and says, "Hey, aren't you Miss Smith?" Or little Johnny can look you in the face and say, "Yeah, Miss Smith. I remember you." Right? Or even more importantly, you can be in a horrible accident and you're lying on the surgeon's table and little Johnny is standing above you and little Johnny says, "Hey, that's Mrs. Smith." Or little Johnny can say, "That's Miss Smith." Be careful what you say to your kids, how you treat your kids. Have expectations for your children, and have a wonderful school year.